Good morning. One of the psalms set for today is Psalm 138, and it says this: I give thanks to you, O Lord, with my whole heart. Before the gods I sing your praise. I bow down towards your holy temple and give thanks for your name, for your steadfast love and your faithfulness, for you have exalted your name and your word above everything. On the day I called, you answered me. You increased my strength of soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise you, O Lord, for they have heard the words of your mouth. They shall sing of the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. For though the Lord is high, he regards the lowly, but the haughty he perceives them from far away. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve me against wrath of my enemies. You stretch out your hand, and your right hand delivers me. The Lord will fulfill his purposes for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. The psalmist is giving thanks and praise to God that he's not been forgotten. He's giving thanks and praise to God for God's goodness, for God's greatness, for God's glory. Today marks the anniversary of VJ Day, 75 years since victory in Japan. Some might think that celebrating victory of the end of the war might be an outdated practice and maybe something we should stop doing. I'm aware that those conversations are about. But today is about remembering the sacrifice of hundreds of thousands of people from countries all over the world in what was a fight for justice, for freedom, and for equality. Some say that the campaign in the Far East that we remember today, which marked the complete end of the Second World War, was the Forgotten Campaign. Victory in Europe had happened many months ago. We celebrated that back in the spring, and yet war went on. Hundreds of thousands of British and Commonwealth soldiers, amongst many others, including Americans too, were held hostage, were held captive in camps that maybe haven't received as much attention as those like Auschwitz. But the conditions were horrific, the conditions were appalling, and some soldiers thought that they had been completely forgotten. And the psalmist writes, do not forsake the work of your hands, O Lord. That was the prayer of many soldiers, many who had been captured. It was even the prayer of families, do not forsake those we love. It was the prayer of those innocent civilians caught up in a war they didn't ask for. The psalmist writes in verse 7, though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve me against the wrath of my enemies. You stretch out your hand, and your right hand delivers me. Today we don't glorify the art of war. We give thanks that it was brought to an end. Today we give thanks for peace, for justice, for equality, and at 11 o'clock when the nation and indeed the world falls silent for 2 minutes, we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to overcome the evil of tyranny, the evil of dictatorship, the evil of inequality. But remembrance isn't just about stopping and standing silent. Remembrance isn't just about an act today to mark 75 years since that peace accord was signed. Remembrance is an ongoing action that should be active. Remembrance is about seeking justice in all things. Remembrance is about seeking equality for all people. Remembrance is about seeking truth and peace and justice in all places. For we have a God who gives us those things. We have a God whose kingdom is marked by those qualities. And we have a God who loves each and every person. Today we give thanks, but in our hearts we praise God for his peace, for his justice, and for his mercy. Great is the glory of the Lord. And the glory of the Lord is justice, mercy, and peace, and equality for all people. Today we remember, but today we also commit ourselves for working together for the world that those people fought for 75 years ago. A world that is for all people, a world that is about equality, and a world that is about justice and freedom too.